will never see the light of day. Probably the best thing I did during my writing career was I went to university to a continuing education class for writers. We all got together and formed a club, and I think that's probably what got all of us published.
Wow.
Oh, and I have two dogs. One is a beagle. His name is Wyatt Earp. And the other one is a German Shepherd, and guess what his name is? It's Doc Holliday.
I love it. I love it. Well, that's great. What was your reaction when you found out you were nominated?
Well, I looked at the list, and I didn't see my name, but I wasn't expecting to see it. My book is a local history, local crime book from Ohio. I'm up against these people like Jane Cleland and Nancy Cohen. But then I took a second look and I saw my name and I thought, you gotta be kidding me. Now, I will say this is my second nomination. I'm thrilled and I'm just glad to be nominated.
Well, that's wonderful. Everyone else has gotten a phone call. Weren't you available for the call?
I didn't get a telephone call. I just got an email.
Okay. You talked a little bit about how you got started writing. What drew you to writing true crime?
I think I've always been very curious and I love to research. I have a degree in criminal justice. I was a police reporter for the newspaper. It just kind of led me down, the criminal path, so to speak. I love following the clues and the evidence.
I bet it takes a lot of research to write these books.
Oh, quite a bit. Yes. That's the fun part. I could research for weeks and weeks. I have to stop myself. But if there's something that I want to know, I want to find out, I'm going to find it out. I'm going to know it.
That's a great trait to have for this line of work. What advice would you give to aspiring authors?
I think the best thing that an aspiring author can do is to join a group of other writers. I'm a member of Sisters in Crime, obviously, but I think needs to join a group that has published writers in the group because you can find out how to plot and how to write dialogue and how to fill out your characters by going to the library and getting books. What you learn when you are in a group, particularly a group that has published writers, is you learn the business of writing, and that's so important.
That is good advice, and we hear that over and over again. I think having a group of your peers, no matter what you're doing, is a great idea.
Yes. I can't remember if my first Wicked Women of Northeast Ohio came out before I joined Sisters in Crime or after. I would not have gotten my second and third book had I not been able to talk to people like Casey Daniels, who had 60 books published, Amanda Flower, and, some of these great writers that really know the business.
What other book were you nominated for?
That was Unsolved Murders and Disappearances in Northeast Ohio.
Oh.
That was 2 years ago.
Okay.
Well, it seems like there's a lot of nefarious deeds going on in Ohio.
Oh, yeah. Ohio's a great place.
We actually vacationed there last summer. We took my son up to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and then did a tour of Lake Erie and went to Put-in-Bay Island. It was a great vacation. Ohio is beautiful.
Oh, yes. I really love it here.
Well, I also like that you are focusing on the women, the wicked women in your books, because you don't hear much about the women who are creating crime and going down the wrong path. It's usually the men. There's probably just as many women who are.
I think we're better at it and don't get caught.
That's maybe so.
Yeah, I find the women more interesting.
Well, it is interesting because I read an article that said that the difference between men and women when it comes to crime is if they see it's a poisoning, a lot of times they know it's a woman that did it. And
right.
I just find that stuff very interesting.
Right. A lot of the women that I have written about, that's it, poisoning.
Really? Well, I
yes.
guess that holds true then.
Yeah,
keeper of the kitchens.
Right. Yeah. I've only written about one axe murderer.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And what year was that?
That was back in the 1880s.
I guess she took her cue from Lizzie Borden.
Well, yeah, she was one sick puppy.
Really?
Ah.
So do you have any other books you're working on or events coming up?
Well, next Saturday is Ohioana, which is the big book fair at the Ohio State Library down at Columbus. And then after that, I'm going to Malice Domestic.
Oh, yes. We are so excited.
We will see you there, definitely.
Yeah, this is our first year,
Yeah.
so we just can't wait.
Yeah.
So you don't have any new books you're working on right now?
Well, I'm working on a couple of things, but they're not at the point where I can really talk about them yet.
Well, Jane, keep us posted on that. And we will put a link to your website in our show notes so people can keep in touch with you and find out what you're up to.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. I also have a blog, and it is darkheartedwomen.wordpress.com.
Oh, awesome. We'll put a link to that also. That sounds great.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to check that
fabulous.
out. All right, Jane. Well, thank you so much for agreeing to be on the show. And we are so looking forward to meeting you in person at Malice.
And wish you all the best of luck.
Thank you. This has been fun.
Very good. We're glad you
And I'm glad
it.
we taught you how to use Skype.
I'll see you at Malice.
All right. Take care.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
Well, we finally got through 18 interviews in 5 episodes. That's pretty jam-packed. We really had to shuffle to get some of those in.
And we so much appreciate all the time that these authors gave to us to make this happen. And we are also so excited that in less than 2 weeks, we will be meeting all these in person. It just seems unreal.
Well, this episode ran a little long, so we're not going to spend a lot of time.
But please check out our website. You can learn everything there is to know about us by going to itwasadarkandstormybookclub@gmail.com.
You can read the show notes for this episode, which will include websites for each of our nominees, so that you can check them out as well. We thank you for listening. We hope to see you next time with a regular episode. And remember,
life would be boring without a little mystery. Bye.